I don't know how to respectfully say this, so literally every YouTube review I've ever seen about this game sounds more like somebody telling you the details of their most recent rectal exam, rather than the amazing game this is. All right, sounds harsh, but I loved this game, and it deserves so much better. And I'm going to try my best at conveying that. This video isn't a paid endorsement or sales pitch. I'm sharing my sincere excitement. I do get asked to review a lot of games. Of the games I have been asked to review, there hasn't been a bad one yet. However, I'm so worried about steering you wrong, I will not review anything I did not purchase and haven't already invested myself into. I've never been asked to review this game. This was my own choice. I'm doing it because it's a great game, and here's the copy I purchased over a year ago. If you're a fan of D20 Modern, if you enjoy action hero movies, if you'd enjoyed 80s style role-playing games, this game is the perfect fit. I've been amazed at the skill exhibited by the game's creative team. This is all top-notch work, so well crafted and synergetic with 5e mechanics, it may encourage even the most cynical of 5e haters to look at 5e from a fresh perspective, as it did for me. While in my view, 5e is not compatible with gritty dark fantasy, it is absolutely perfect for modern futuristic action heroes. I get bored easily. That's why my D&D campaigns are multiverse hopping, politically explosive, morally messy chaos. There's role-playing, combat, intrigue, gods manipulating the balance of the universe. If you're not taking notes at my table, you're gonna get lost. You're gonna miss out on so many of the layers I weave into my campaigns. I'm not suggesting I have ADHD, and in fact, I've never been able to focus long enough to learn what ADH is. I just love how Everyday Heroes provides this massive canvas for my imagination and spans literally entire cinematic universes. Two of my favorites are right here, Escape from New York and The Crow. I've not opened these because I use the PDFs. At this moment, Evil Genius Games has a crowdfunding for another of my absolute favorite movies, Return of the Living Dead. Can you just imagine merging Escape from New York with 80s brain-eating zombies and then role-playing in that universe? Not just as a living hero, but as a brain-eating zombie? I'll discuss game mechanics, but frankly, that's an academic exercise. It's cold, clinical, and it rarely moves the heart. At best, the rules confirm what we already hoped the game would be. At worst, they become an excuse to write it off. As I've said many times, a game's setting is much more important than the actual mechanics. Okay, I can hear it now.
Actually.
Comments. Yes, the mechanics and setting are often intertwined, and mechanics will have a massive influence on how one translates that setting onto the gaming table. What I'm saying is, at the end of the day, all dice mechanics have their strengths and weaknesses. It's mostly all subjective, and we either accept that or we don't. The only perfect game is the one you like most, flaws and all. Discussing Everyday Heroes by Evil Genius Games, I need you to know I'm extremely biased because I love it. I highly doubt anyone else on YouTube that's reviewed this game loves it as much as I do. That's because as a teenager, I would become unreasonably overwhelmed with excitement by the release of new role-playing games. Gamma World, Star Frontiers, Marvel's Superheroes by TSR, and Star Wars D6 by West End Games were all major highlights from my youth, and I still love them today. It's been a long time since I felt that same level of enthusiasm about a new game, but that's exactly what I found with Everyday Heroes. At face value, it might seem like my excitement is unwarranted. After all, it's based off 5e mechanics, and there's a litany of reasons 5e may not be right for you. I have myself moved on to a vastly superior game for running dungeon explorations, and I will very likely never purchase any future WotC products. But the very factors that make 5e bad for dungeons make it perfect for modern action hero style gaming. In fact, I wish we could all just do a Men in Black style memory wipe and forever unlink 5e from WotC and D&D. Then we could think about 5e on much better terms and look at its true strengths. In fact, if you were ever a fan of Star Frontiers, Gamma World, or a litany of other 80s role-playing games, I believe Everyday Heroes will feel very familiar. I am going to talk about the rules, but first, I think you'll get more from my opinions about the game, since the rules are just a variant of 5e. I have strong thoughts, including deep criticisms regarding the changes Everyday Heroes has made to 5e combat that you will need to consider. Those changes to combat are a major selling point in their promotion of the game, but as someone looking to maximize the usefulness of 5e 5e publications, those changes are also the only thing that prevents me from reviewing the game with a perfect 10 out of 10 score. I'll explain that later, plus offer solutions to what I see as the game's biggest weakness rather than strength. But I do very much love this game, and my commentary is more important than describing those rules, since mere mention of 5e might preemptively turn some gamers away. If you hate 5e and have already decided Everyday Heroes isn't for you based on that fact alone, for the duration of this video, we'll need to put that aside. Put away our disdain for Wizards of the Coast and just think about 5e on its own. 5e wasn't created by some faceless corporate entity. It was created by real people, a team of designers like Mike Merrills, Jeremy Crawford, and Chris Perkins. None of those people remain employed by WotC. Their departures underline one thing: supporting Everyday Heroes isn't about backing Wizards or Hasbro products. It's about supporting creative people who love our hobby. Or maybe you hate 5e because it's too cumbersome, too bloated, too much. I'm planning a separate video to address those complaints called the 5e Dilemma. You may remember a previous video titled Only Noobs Hate 5e. That was an intentionally provocative title, and I still stand by all of my remarks in that video. But I've moved it to my commentary channel where I'm more comfortable uploading potentially controversial discussions. Go watch that video and subscribe there so I'm motivated to keep uploading videos on that channel. You'll find a link in this video's description. But in regard to bloat, look, I've been DMing since Holmes Basic, the second oldest edition of D&D. If you think 5e is bloated, I'm gonna have to assume you've not played anything other than Mold Bay Basic, because literally every edition past that, beginning with first edition AD&D, has had its own cumbersome bloat. Of all past editions, in fact, 5e is the most organized. If you've been willing to overlook bloat from past editions, then 5e bloat really isn't the problem. However, the softness of 5e is. Last year, I made a video introducing you to the archaic, vintage, and totally awesome James Bond RPG by Victory Games. While working on it, I kept thinking, man, for all its faults, 5e would actually be perfect for over-the-top action hero style gaming. And that's how I discovered Everyday Heroes. According to my analytics, the viewers in this channel tend to skew a bit older. That also means it's likely 5e isn't as popular as it is with the younger crowd. 5e is what I call superhero D&D. Be that good or bad, that's a matter of opinion. These things are all subjective. I agree that ultra-powerful dungeon delving gets boring and slogged down too quickly. I learned to work through it, but the very things that make 5e bad for dungeon crawling are what make it great for Everyday Heroes, and why it's perfect for someone like me who loves those quirky, pulpy 80s role-playing games. Before I continue, there's a free quick start guide available on their website. I'll have a link in this video's description. And they also have a Kickstarter going right now for Return of the Living Dead. A link will also be provided in this video's description. You can check those out while you listen to me explain why I love this game. There's a lot of people making bold proclamations across social media regarding the importance of diversity in our hobby. If you've ever said you want more representation in gaming, this is a real opportunity to back that up. Not just with words, but in action, because supporting diversity doesn't stop with a retweet. I'm saying this for the younger gamers because I hear a lot of posturing. But what about action? You see, Evil Genius Games is a Black-owned publishing company, led by someone who is a gamer and genuinely loves this community. It was nearly a year ago that I contacted Evil Genius Games and asked for an interview with their CEO. Within days, we were talking on Zoom. Speaking with him, I found he cares for and understands the gaming culture, and he wants to help it grow in bold new directions. I consider myself to be a very good judge of character, and I've found that Evil Genius Games is welcoming, enthusiastic, and passionate about our hobby. This on its own isn't a valid reason to support any game, but it does remove some of the excuses. Nowhere in any of the books by Evil Genius Games have I found any political positions or posturing. There's no moral lectures or rewriting of history to pamper those on the extremes of left or right. In fact, their brief section regarding safety tools addresses us like the adults we are. Because 5e really is what I call superhero D&D and utterly contrary to my gaming style, that's exactly why Everyday Heroes works. Everyday Heroes and 5e are the perfect combination because it embraces that pulpy cinematic action vibe. using 5E's strengths to elevate it. Playing Everyday Heroes gives you Arnold Schwarzenegger walking into a jungle with a cigar and a minigun to hunt the unkillable. Bruce Willis barefoot, bleeding, but still cracking jokes as he fights off terrorists on Christmas Eve. Keanu Reeves in a tailored suit, fueled by grief and rage, dismantling an entire criminal empire because someone killed his dog. And Sigourney Weaver in a power loader. Kurt Russell with an eye patch. Denzel Washington calmly clearing a room. And Tom Cruise sprinting full tilt through enemy fire. That's the spirit Everyday Heroes taps into. Modern-day myth-making where the action is cinematic, the tension is high, and your character gets to be the one who steps up to defeat the bad guys trying to destroy the world. Now let's talk about those rules. If you're familiar with 5e D&D, transitioning to Everyday Heroes is mostly straightforward, but there are a few major system changes worth noting. Armor class is replaced with defense. Defense equals 10 plus a defense bonus based on your heroic archetype and your highest relevant ability modifier. Second is armor value, AB, and penetration value, PV. Armor doesn't add to defense. Instead, armor provides an armor value. Weapons have penetration values. If PV is greater than or equal to AB, full damage is dealt. If PV is less than AB, you roll an armor saving throw to reduce damage. And damage types have been simplified and modernized. Everyday Heroes focuses on modern categories like ballistic, blunt, explosive, and piercing. Number 4, we have chase rules and vehicles. A full set of chase mechanics exists for vehicles and foot chases. It includes maneuvers, zones, and initiative variants. Reflecting back on the James Bond RPG, tabletop role-playing games have always struggled with chase mechanics. The James Bond game being one notable exception. Reproducing action-packed chases you see in the movies is very difficult in tabletop gaming. Everyday Heroes has addressed that with some great mechanics reminiscent of those James Bond games, and heroic archetypes instead of fantasy classes. You choose from strong, agile, tough, smart, wise, or charming. Then refine that into a class like hacker, infiltrator, MMA fighter, or many others, for example. And now, here are my only criticisms of the game. If you're hoping to plug and play existing 5e content without a hitch, the changes to combat make this unnecessarily cumbersome. In my opinion, 5e is already action hero style combat, so creating a proprietary system does not add anything to the game, and in fact represents what I see as just a misunderstanding of what AC and hit points actually represent. Here's my stack of 5e Sandy Peterson Cthulhu books. These are fantastic, but I don't want D&D characters adventuring through that content. I like to just easily drop in Everyday Heroes characters. Here's some of my 5e monster books. I'd love to use these with Everyday Heroes. Here's some more 5e books that I'd love to plop into Everyday Heroes. But making those changes to combat put up an unnecessary wall that prevents seamless integration without adding anything to combat mechanics that already give us overpowered heroes. Now, I want to be clear. I really love this game. It is one of my favorite. It's fantastic, but they just didn't need to complicate its compatibility with other 5e publications. They're also not the only publisher that has done this. Please, all of you people out there, stop doing that. This is a 5e options book. I strongly urge Evil Genius Games to publish a similar book specifically for Everyday Heroes, not to add bloat, but to simplify and offer options for gamers. Everyday Heroes uses milestone leveling. Include rules and charts for experience-based leveling for those who prefer it. Everyday Heroes has a maximum of 10th level characters. That's great, but include optional rules for going beyond that. Include options for a grittier style of gaming, and so on. Sell these booklets or offer them as free PDFs on their website. This type of edition will help bring in new players and help eliminate the compatibility issues. But until then, here's what you can do. If you want to remove the AV-PV system and revert to traditional 5e style AC combat mechanics, the Everyday Heroes Discord and community forums have homebrew modules and conversion guides. Some DMs simply treat defense as AC and ignore the AV-PV entirely. This works well if you want to maximize plug-and-play existing 5e content. Others preserve the flavor by keeping PV as a weapon trait, but treating armor as flat AC bonus. It's easy to house rule. The Everyday Heroes community is very passionate about this game, and I am eager to see them grow. This is an awesome game that deserves to be on every gaming table. What really sells this game for me is the value you get in return. Each cinematic supplement book is not even necessary, even though that's their primary marketing pitch. But with just the core rulebook and an imagination, you can create your very own action hero adventures. What these cinematic sourcebooks do is add a whole new dimension. At best, an entirely new game. At worst, an entirely new campaign setting, which is still very cool. I love the idea of having action heroes leaping through cinematic universes, but you could also play an entire campaign with dozens of interlocking adventures in an official setting or one of your own creation. Have you ever wanted to direct your very own action thriller? This is your chance. For me, setting is so much more important than mechanics. This is true of any game, and this game gives me limitless settings. So my final thoughts is that this is one of my favorite games, and in my opinion, 5e was created specifically for this style of gaming. The changes to combat were largely unnecessary in my opinion, and they inhibit easy combination with other 5e products, but that can be overcome. I just prefer to plug and play. Now, their Return of the Living Dead Kickstarter is the perfect way to get into this game, and you can purchase the core rulebook as an add-on to your pledge. I also highly recommend the Vault for even more options. Now, as always, I'm your host and friend, Aten, hopefully your favorite goth DM. Thanks so much for watching, and welcome to the party, pal.